We can always blame, if you like to use that word, our leaders. But the honest truth is that our leaders, as far back as the 60s, especially through Kwame Nkrumah, our first president, they recognized the importance of collective action. They were the ones who suggested, let's have an African Union with a headquarters in Addis Ababa, which has been there for almost 70 years, doing hopefully reasonably appropriate things. It is the African Union which gave birth to the African Continental Free Trade Secretariat. So we must recognize that political will flowing through that. It's the same African nations, political will, who created ECOWAS, Economic Community of West African States, and also put money into some of the ECOWAS institutions, that's as ECOWAS Bank, ECOWAS Fund. These are all financial institutions. So the politicians have misbehaved often, yes, but they also take sensible decisions on our collective behalf, which, when we implement them, hopefully we'll get the right results. But here are financial people or bankers in a room, and we are talking about remittances. If we say that, okay, Ghana probably got 6 billion or whatever in remittances, if you do collective African remittances, it's in the 90 to 100 billion range per annum.
Yes.
So that's a source of money which goes to people's mothers and fathers and uncles in their little villages and towns, but there's no collective system of aggregating those funds to do infrastructure work or whatever. So there's a time for an African diaspora fund, African infrastructure fund, all kinds of African. I have to say, I think Pan-African.
Yeah.
That's why I may be the only one in this room who has a small office called Africa House. If anybody has an Africa House, let me know so that I also withdraw that particular statement. But that's how I think. And that's partly also why I'm championing an Africa business
ABCDE.
business,
yes.
Center for Developing Education. That's on the educational side.
ABC.
And so the skills development issues that we need to inculcate or bring into the AFC, FTA area, both in terms of behavioral skills and all the things that our law enforcement agencies do on the borders that interfere with a woman coming with, or a man coming with goods and services and, being hit with informal, unofficial, corrupt, stealing, whatever that goes on. Those are all things that must be inculcated in ourselves, in our children, in our grandchildren, all throughout. So the education system has something to do with that. But coming back to the financing part, which was a problem, the remittances were one. The pension funds, the pensions are, to the best of my knowledge or recollection, in Ghana alone, I think it's an African figure, it's in the 600 billion range, Pan-African. So where's that Pan-African pension fund, which could easily do any number of things? The long-term funds are what we need for railways. So let us look at what our colonial masters did. We had raw materials, they wanted to bring it to the coast. What did they do? They didn't build all kinds of roads. They went straight to railways, being the cheapest volume, transformational undertaking infrastructure in any part of the world. If any of us go anywhere in the world, we take trains from this to that. Yeah. We take trains from New York to Washington, from Osaka to Tokyo. So the train system, very critical. We are talking about going to Burkina Faso. Yes, we've had that on the drawing board for many years, but implementation is not there. Actually, people end up stealing the railway tracks, the physical railway tracks. So hopefully the oral people will come up with who has been doing the railway track stealing one of these days.